All right, I'm back. I want to go ahead and finish this up, ladies and gentlemen. We are talking about reincarnation. Hello, 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 Diva. We're going to finish this up because we're talking about reincarnation and it's getting good. All right, real quick. If you missed the first part, please go back and check it out because we went over what the beginnings of the earth were and how what science is showing about that, and how the mighty mitochondria, who I introduced in the first session, it talks about that, the mitochondria and how important she is, how important her DNA is. We talk about what the relationship with the mitochondria and the human cell. We talked about who the aliens are on the planet, and the fact that the animals really are said to be native to the planet, and the human cell is said to not be native to the planet. One of the things I do want to point out is people tend to think, oh, the animals come from us. Well, science shows the animals were here first. Historical documentation shows that the animals were here first. Archaeology shows that the animals were here first. And even your Bible shows that the animals were here first. The animals were here first. We don't come from them. And they don't come from us. Again, science is showing that this human cell is alien to the planet. They don't know where it comes from. We talked about the relationship between the bacteria and the human, the bacteria that protect the human, and how they have voices and how loud they speak and how you have to be in control of those voices. We talked about how bacteria and the mitochondria communicate. Now, let's get on this because I went into talking about how the mitochondria is being pimped. And I talked about how we are being pimped by our government. Go back and check that out if you missed that. But I also spoke about how there are no victims. And, as much as we love the mitochondria and all that she does, again, the things that come to her are by contract. She signed a contract. And so we're going to get into this contract. All right, we're going to get into that. We're going to get into how the mitochondria actually produces. We're going to finish this thing up, ladies and gentlemen. Diva, let's do this. Now, we're talking about, once again, where we left off. I was talking about how the mitochondria actually produces energy. We talked about that, the ATP, adenosine triphosphate. That is the big gold here on this planet because nothing exists without the ATP. And all of that ATP is coming through the mitochondria, and we're going to go into just how she produces it. All right, here we go. What are we? Let me see. All right, we're right here. We're going to go to the adenosine triphosphate inside the mitochondria. All right, here we are. Now, let's look at the parts of the mitochondria. First of all, we got the outer membrane here, which is, once again, this is semi-permeable, the outer membrane. Then we got the cristae. These are these little ridges, in and out ridges. Anybody see the term Christ in that? All right, now let's understand these ridges here are to help increase the surface area. All right, and we're going to talk about that why in a few minutes. And so this is the inner membrane. This is non-permeable. You're not getting into this membrane unless you get permission from the mitochondria. And then the matrix, which is inside of the membrane, this is where everything has to go through, every element, if it wants to get back into this dimension. Now, area here is the intermembrane space. This is going to be coming up. But here, this right here, these are the currency factories that you'll see, yellow, red, blue, different elements here along the cristae. Now, let me talk about the cristae once again. You see the term Christ. That's because we're talking about Christ consciousness. This is what we're talking about right here, where the Christ doesn't need your food, your water, your lights, your whatever, your trinkets and all of that. This is what we're talking about, Christ consciousness. And so when we're talking about these factories here. This factory, this is where all of the ATP is made. We're ready to go deep into this thing and understand exactly what she's doing to produce this. Now, let's understand this. I'm not going to get into each one of these these little elements within the ATP, but there is one thing that I need to point out. As I talked about, the mitochondria is pimping. And we're going to understand who and what she is pimping, because I told you she does create everything in this dimension. It has to go through her womb before it gets here. And everything that you're seeing is a reflection of her mind. However, she doesn't produce, she doesn't create the spirit. The spirit always was. And it was before before her. But let's, ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you the spirit right there. The hydrogen. Hydro means water. All right. And this is the most fundamental element on the planet. And this is what the mitochondria uses to create her money. The ATP is who she's pimping right here. And it's important to know this because this is the spirit. And we're going to go into how you know this is a spirit shortly, because I know I have some people going, how you know that's a spirit? What we don't know that. Okay, we're going to talk about it. All right. But what I want you to do as we go throughout this phase is to follow the hydrogen. Follow the hydrogen. All right. Let's get into it. The money factory. All right. Let's go back here because I'll make sure I introduced everything here. You see the mitochondria. One moment. Didn't I tell you? Here we go. All right. So you see this is the inner membrane space where she's going to hold the hydrogens. These are your currency factories, or your ATP synthase is what they call them. ATP synthase. In other words, your moneymaker factories. That's what they are. Currency factories. All right. So let's get into this. We're going to show this video here where we can actually see how she produces it. All right. Money making in effect. Come on, mitochondria. Let's do this. All right. So we're going inside of the mitochondria right now. All right. And what we're going to see, we're going into these factories. Let's see if we can zoom in on this one moment. All right. Now, let me, before we go there, what I want, there are elements back here. Let me back up just a little bit. Because there are other elements that, let's see if we can get to this. All right. So once again, I want to go into this because there are other elements within this moneymaker factory, or this ATP synthase, that I'm not going to go deep into. And once again, this is inside of the mitochondria. But I do want to point something out as we go into here. This is the ATP synthase. This is the big one that we're going to go over. But these units here, this blue, red, yellow, these are the spaces where she's going to get the hydrogen, and she's going to kick them out through these units here. And I'm not going to go through all of those because I just really want to focus on this ATP synthase here. All right, so as we're going to see how she actually uses the hydrogen to produce the money, the ATP, the adenosine triphosphate. Now, what you're seeing here you're seeing all of these ions going across here. And this is the inner membrane space that you're looking at right here. All right. This down here at the bottom, this is inside of her matrix. All right. So here we go. And you're seeing how this right here, this top part, this is a wheel. This is very much like what you'll see on a building when you're pushing those doors around, that round door, you're pushing that door around. That's exactly what this is. Only thing is, she's learned how to make this thing turn nothing into gold. All right. So she pushes, she has the hydrogen where they come in and they're going to push this wheel around. Once again, this is a factory. This is a machine inside the mitochondria. So once again, please, let's stop thinking that we are more intelligent than these beings are, because they have a high sense of intelligence. And we're going to experience that more as we go along with this video. All right. So here you go. You've got these hydrogen atoms that are coming in, and their job is to push this wheel around. Now, let's understand that this wheel, when they're coming in, let me say this because this is a contract they have to sign to get back in here. First of all, let's understand that these hydrogen up here, they can't stand this area. This is the inner membrane area. They can't stand it. They're like, oh, he's touching me. They don't like to be close to other hydrogen. They like to have space. And so they're up here now. Oh, well, if you want to get back into the matrix, you have to sign a contract. And they are happy to sign that contract to get back into the matrix, because this is utopia down here. We're going to see why it's utopia shortly. But here they are. They're willing to go around this gate. This is your pearly gates. The pearly gates right here. And she is using the hydrogen to push these gates around, so that at the bottom here, she's going to produce adenosine triphosphate. So you see the hydrogen are coming in. And as they come in, they're spinning this wheel. So what she's going to do, she's going to make them come in, and then every 3 of these hydrogen are going to create another adenosine triphosphate as they push this wheel all the way around. So you got to come in here on level 1, and you got to push this wheel all the way around before you're able to come down this spout and get into the matrix. What is the matrix, by the way? I had a friend to describe the matrix. Let me say this real quick because I did not define this. Ma meaning matrix, tricks, ma meaning mother, excuse me, and tricks meaning trickery. Well, that, when you break it down, that to some degree is what it is, because everything in this dimension is a reflection of her. Trickery to some degree. But what matrix is a womb. It is a womb. If you want to get back into the matrix, you got to sign the contract. So here they are coming down into the matrix. All right. And again, this is a contract that they have to sign to get back in here. Everything is a contract. All right. So once they get back in, she's got this wheel rigged to where it's going to every 3 hydrogen units that come through this wheel, it's going to turn this energy, this element here rather, it's going to turn this unit here, and then this is going to allow her to produce adenosine triphosphate. Now, if you look over to the side, this right here is adenosine diphosphate. It's only got 2 phosphates on it. This one right here has 2. This one here is joining the 3rd one on. That's the money being made right there. Ooh. Money right there, adenosine triphosphate. And she's every 3 units is going to turn this bottom part and allow her to create more adenosine triphosphates. All right, so here's the wheel, the pearly gates. Here the hydrogen up here all aggravated and trying to get back into the matrix. And this is the inner membrane space, the matrix. You wants to get back into the matrix, sign this contract, go around the pearly gates. There we go. Adenosine triphosphate. This is the money right here that every entity on this planet has to have to produce any kind of energy. Without it, nothing happens. This is the mitochondria doing all of this with her money-making factory right there. You've seen it. And so I'm going to make sure I include all of these units, these videos rather, so that you can go back and look at them in their entirety. All right, there you go, money-making factory. Now, let me make sure, if I had, by the way, again, if you have any questions, please put them below so that I can be sure to answer them for you. Hopefully third time, fourth time, sixth time is the, oh shoot. Are we still going? Let me see. Are we still rolling? I don't know. It's saying it's trying to reconnect. If there's anyone, let me see. I'm going to keep going. Hopefully I'll be able to get through this session. All right. So what we're doing is we're talking about the, again, parts of the mitochondria, how she's creating the money and how it goes through that ATP synthase. All right. Now, I said earlier to follow the H's. If y'all can see this, Rooster, if you can still see this, give me some thumbs up so that I'm still connected. But yeah, so what you're going to do is follow the H's. Now, the next thing that I want to introduce here is let's take a look at what these units look like. Let's see. Give us some thumbs up if you see me. Anybody out there? Is anybody listening? All right, let's take a look at this cell currency, because I need to show you what adenosine triphosphate actually looks like. Where is my units? Here we go. See if I can find my adenosine triphosphate units. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go back to this. I want to show you all this. This is in under cell currency. Take a look at what these, again, remember I said follow the H's. All right, this is adenosine triphosphate. All right, this is the gold. These NADH, that's what the government, the cell of the government of the cell is sending into the mitochondria. See these H's here? Follow these H's, because she needs to use those. This is what she's pimping right here. Also, they send in pyruvate. Follow the H's, all right? Because again, these are your spirits as they're coming in. Let me see if I'm still connected. Am I still connected? Due to poor, oh, I got a thumbs up. I'm gonna keep rolling. All right, so here we go. So you're following the H's. Follow the H's, all right? Because that is what she's using to kick out into her. Let's see, here we go. All right. So she's using those elements that come into her matrix, and she's using those to kick those hydrogen back out. She kicked the hydrogen back out into this inner membrane space. All right. And so she makes them come back in through the pearly gates so that they can continue to make money for her. All right. Again, she's exploiting them the same way she's getting exploited by the cell, the way the human's getting exploited by the government. All right. As is above, so is below. I also want to mention that the hydrogen is, it's a planet. It is a planet. Let's understand that on an even more microscopic level. Again, this thing goes so deep. We're not even talking about the macro level. We're just talking about the microscopic level and things that we can see on our own. Now, let's get into this because I want to keep going so that we can get to what reincarnation is and how we can see it. All right, now let me talk about this real quick, because again, I know I got some people going, well, how we know hydrogen is how we know hydrogen is a spirit. Well, let me help you out. All right, this is what I want you to do. And this is not going to take you, it's not going to cost you any money. Get your 3 glasses. All right, put water in each 3 glasses, same water, and label them. Label the water love, indifferent, and hate. Take that glass label love, and I want you to sing to it. Tell it you love it. I appreciate you. All right. The glass labeled indifferent, do nothing. The one labeled hate, show a lot of negative energy. Call it whatever. Tell it it disgusts you. Whatever you want to say to it. And then just leave it for 3 days, 3-4 days. It doesn't take long to see this. But water has hydrogen in it. Water also has mitochondria in it because she's the one who produced it. And everything has water in it. It's very much It pays a lot of attention, if you will, to your energies. It's responsive highly to your energies. So you're going to see this glass of water. That's all you have to do. Do another one. Same glasses, love, indifferent, hate. And then what you do is put a flower in it, in each one of them. Put a flower in each one of them. Again, sing to the glass and the flower that says love. Sing to it. Tell it you love it. Show it appreciation and love. See it. Indifferent, say nothing to it. The one labeled hate, this flower and this glass, tell it disgusts you. All right? And what you're going to see is how each one of those flowers responds to your energies. See, this gives another understanding of why you pray over your food. Again, you don't know, especially when you go out, you don't know what the chef has going on back in the back. He could be angry about his baby mama, whoever, whatever happened to him. He's angry, and your food, which has water in it, is highly sensitive to every energy that he's putting out. So it comes out to you, your food is jacked up. Well, this is why you want to pray. This is why we talk about praying over your food before you eat it, so that you can make sure those energies, because there's energies in the food. You're praying up here, the energy is in the food. The mitochondria is in the food. So this is where you want to be praying. This gives you a whole nother understanding of why we pray. Let me see if I'm still logged on here. Okay, looks like I'm still logged on. So that just gives you another understanding of what's going on a molecular level, why we pray, why we do some of the things that we do. That's why there's energies in mitochondria. You talk about, God and what God is, it's in there. But when you do that little experiment, you're going to see how responsive these hydrogen beings are to your energies. All right. The other thing is, understand that the mitochondria produces, she can produce without oxygen. All right. If there's no oxygen, she's still going to be able to produce energy, but she's not going to put out water. She's going to put out lactic acid, or she's going to put out alcohol. All right. So when we start talking about fermentation, if it's yogurt, your mussels, or cabbage, she's putting out lactic acid. Okay. When we're talking about, fruits and corn and things like that, rice, she's going to put out ethanol, alcohol. And so they're using things like yeast to create. They don't do nothing without the mitochondria. That's really the mitochondria that's producing the ethanol. And again, when you look at ethanol and lactic acid, it has those H's on there. Follow the H's. And why do we call it mineral spirits? Mineral spirits, because there are spirits in it. And these spirits, especially coming from the ethanol, they are so strong, they will control your whole body. They're going to control your whole body. You don't have the ability to tell your arms and legs what to do, because the spirits, they've taken over your brain. This is why I say we've got to be careful when we're dealing with, these bacteria and other spirits. We got to control them. We can't let them control us. Otherwise, you can't hear the spirit that you need to be listening to. That's the mitochondria. All right, let's move on. All right. Now, this is, again, all of this stuff is being explained to you from the standpoint of science. Go look this stuff up. Now, let me get into this now. Let's do it. We're going to talk about reincarnation. Am I still on? Am I still on? Can I get some thumbs up? Yeah. All right, I'm going to keep moving. All right, so here we go. We're talking about reincarnation now. What is reincarnation? Let's define it. Re, meaning to do again. In, meaning enter or within. Car is a vehicle or vessel. Nation is an organized community, within a certain territory. Once again, a nation is an organized community within a certain territory. The word we want to look at, organized. All right, organ as in, vessel, heart, lungs, kidneys, organs. And a community. As I say again, we are a community of different spiritual beings. So what are we talking about when we say reincarnation? To once again organize a community within a vessel. Reincarnation. Reincarnation. Let's get on it. What are we talking about when we talk about reincarnation? Here we go. Reincarnation. Now, let's look up here because we've got from negative infinity to infinity. From infinity to infinity. And what are we talking about? This line represents a spirit or spirits. Let's call it spirit. As I said, the spirit always was and it always will be. And it remembers everything. Everything. And so when we're talking about from infinity to infinity, we're talking about the spirit that's on this line. So let's take this first example here. All right. Let's say we've got you and you're here and you've lived 90 years. All right. Now I'm going to say this because this is my thing from the beginning. When I'm buried, I've told my family this already, but when I'm buried, when I die rather, do not be cremating me and do not be putting me in no coffin. You get a burlap sack. As a matter of fact, coffins cost about $10,000. Don't you spend it. I will come back and haunt somebody. Don't spend that kind of money on no coffin for me. I'm supposed to be in a burlap sack in the ground. Throw a seed in there. What is it? Either avocado. I love avocados, or either a plum or a peach. One of those three. Throw it in there, and then leave it alone. Because I'm gonna come back and do what I need to do. But yeah, a burlap sack. But let's say you're buried properly, the way, like when you look at movies like Avatar, that's how folks were buried. Don't embalm me, none of that. Just put all of my elements, all of my hydrogen elements into the ground in a burlap sack. Now let's get on this because we need to understand there's another principle and a law that is of the, it's a chemistry law. Matter is neither created nor destroyed. And this is very much real. So all of your hydrogen atoms are going here in the ground, all of them. And that includes your mitochondrial DNA is right here in the ground. Now, the next thing that happens is 10, 20 years later, you're in the ground and you've got worms that come about. You've got bacteria that are breaking it down, fungi that are breaking it down, and everything that partakes. You got a tree growing here, a little treeling. You've got grass. You've got oxygen coming from the tree, and everything is taking in of that. You've got cows that are eating of the grass. Everything that is partaking in anything coming from the soil or anything going out into the air, those are your hydrogen atoms. You are reincarnating in these beings, every last one of them. This is where the concept, the first law of universal law is we are all one. That's where that comes from. We are all one. That's where that comes from. So as we understand this, then, you can understand, once again, everything. You and the worm, because the worm was down in the ground eating all of the soil that's coming from you that was broken down by the fungus. All right. The bird now is eating the worm. You and the bird. All of your hydrogen atoms. Again, matter is neither created nor destroyed. You are reincarnating into this vessel as well. All right. But the question is, where are you putting your conscience? Where are you focusing your conscience? All right, here you go. You are in the cow because he's eating the grass that's coming up from the soil that's been nurtured by your hydrogen atoms. and your mitochondrial DNA. There you go. Right there. You've reincarnated once again. But let's keep it moving. All right. Because after, again, anything that is partaking of this tree, anything eating the leaves of this tree. Well, you see a giraffe here, the leaves, everything, the oxygen, it has all of your hydrogen atoms in it. Again, we are all one. That concept comes from, because now you have someone who's partaking in the fruit over here, and she's pregnant. All right, anybody partaking of the fruit, those are your hydrogen atoms in there. Those are your atoms. And so, your hydrogen atoms. And you're in them now. You might not reincarnate in them, because normally it takes generations or what have you to come back in that way. But here you go. 20 years later, she has a child. You probably not in this child, but when she has children and she's partaking of the fruit from your tree, well, here you go, right here. You get to come back. See, one of the things we need to understand is that a child is nothing more than an old spirit coming back in a new vessel. Again, the spirit always was. Look up here. The spirit always was and always will be. From here, again, now I don't know just the number of years that it takes to come back, but somebody does. This is why whenever there's a birth, on that birth certificate, it's going to have the date of birth and the time. With those things right there, you can tell just about, you can do math and tell who a person was in a previous existence. All right. So there is a science to this and understanding how you're reincarnating, but we have to understand we are a nation of spirits, and reincarnation is to put that nation, or put a nation once again into a new vessel. Here you go, right here. Reincarnation, right here. She has a child. She's been eating of the fruit that's coming from your tree. Reincarnation, right there. And you get to come back and try it again. All right. So there we go. Reincarnation. Now, I talked about how the hydrogen want to get back. Let me say this, because one of the things I need to point out, and hopefully, let me see if I'm still rolling. Am I still rolling? Looks might be still rolling. Okay.